Guys, DC here, day 2 of Great Dorset Steam Fair, and I'm going to show you the sights and sounds and the smells that you normally get. And it's been turned out to be, it started to rain last night and it turned out nice and now. But as you can see behind me, we've got some World War One vehicles, and I'm going to show you around in the trenches as well. They've also got markets, auto jumbles, and some other places you can actually visit. So if you fancy having a look round, book a holiday next year and see what you think. So let's turn you around. Oh, sorry, my finger in the way there. Yeah. So. Oh, this is what you see. Yeah, you got. That's your field kitchen, just there. And this is what they used to be in World War One, in the trenches, fighting the Germans. But this is all hand dug by machines to recreate what's in World War One. And as you see in the background, you've got your zoom in for you. That's the heavy haulage arena. And we'll go from there. So there's lots to do. As you can see, you've got your Ferris wheel, you've got fairgrounds, you've got live music at night. And like I say, you've got lots to do. As you can see in the background, 3 traction engines pulling a heavy load. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, can we all stay close together? If for any reason the lights do go out, please place your hand on the person in front of your shoulder, and then I'll lead you out to the corridors. So please be careful with your footing in places it's quite undulating. And we're off now to see the pioneers, so if you'd like to follow me. If there's any problems, anybody panic, please just say.
Don't panic.
Outside. Don't panic, Mr. Hillary.
Right, mate.
He looks like he's panicking.
Yes, mate.
This is awesome.
Right, it's getting a bit tight now.
Lily's with us.
There you go. So this is.
Hello. They don't look very welcome to the party.
No, they don't do it.
Artwork.
Luke's and then David.
Huh?
Artwork.
Yeah, I'm actually painting a sign. They've asked for a sign because people are coming through an exit where they
Carry on
shouldn't
and
be.
squeeze up.
So I've got to make a sign for them.
Let the children go
Tell people
forwards.
to
Let the children go forwards, and then you can go behind.
Yep.
Okay, do you want to come forwards and let an adult stand behind you? That's absolutely
it.
wonderful. Everybody squeeze in.
Oh, you're here? Ah,
You're not going to make us a full drip cup of coffee.
I could make you a wooden one.
Wouldn't work. Excellent.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Pioneer Shop in the underworld. It's a wonderful place, isn't it? It shelters us from hail, shower and rain and storms. Very good. My name's Sergeant Byford and I'm from the 8th Battalion, the Royal Sussex Regiment, Pioneers. Late 1914, the War Office realised... You got a rat? Right, late 1914, the War Office realised that there was too much work for the Royal Engineers to do alone. So the solution to that problem was to convert a lot of the new infantry battalions that were being formed from the Kitchener's Army. So a lot of the service battalions were converted during their training into pioneers. The 8th Royal Sussex were converted in February of 1915. So we'd started our training in the September of 14, because we're all keen, we all signed on early. Even though I'm an old soldier anyway. Hang on, I'm talking to everybody else. Hang on, I'll answer your question in a minute. So we got the battalion through part of its training, and then we changed that to pioneer training. But we still needed to be able to handle the rifle and do infantry work. Incidentally, there were some territorial battalions that were also converted into pioneers. One of those being the 5th Royal Sussex, who were territorials, but they were converted in August of 1915, having been through Neuve-Chapelle and Festubert and a bit of fighting down there. So what do we do? Right, where you are, you're in a nice safe dugout. Well, it's not a dugout; it's a tunnel system. This would have been designed by the Royal Engineers. The Royal Engineers would have been there to oversee most of the building, but we of the Pioneers did a lot of the actual physical building. And later on, in fact, during 1918, the engineers have got that much faith and confidence in us. We were doing a lot of the work. They would just say to us, "We want you to build one of these," and we'd do it. Our main tasks, though, were repairing and remaking. The duckboarding under your feet, we'd repair it and build new pieces. The trench ladders, again, we would make and repair those. Trench defences, known as knife rests, they're big crosses of wood with barbed wire wrapped through them, known as knife rests. We would be building them, all to Royal Engineer specifications. There were miniature railway lines, running supplies up and down the line, and indeed then later on running casualties and back from the line. So there's a lot of work to do, and we were then able to supply the manpower. We still needed to fight though. So what would happen was, as I said, we would all still be fully trained in operating the rifle, but even more complicated, we'd know how to use a shovel, which are very complicated instruments to work with, which I expect I'm sure you all know. So, come the day of going into an attack, I don't know whether I mentioned that each infantry division had a battalion of pioneers attached to them, which was 800 to 1,000 men. So what would happen? You, as the British forces, you would start advancing towards your objective. You would take your objective. You're facing that way. Myself, as the defending enemy, my trench is built to face that way, with the fire step on the front, which will be now behind you. So what we as the pioneers would do, we would then recut the fire step or redig it and put it at the front. Wire entanglements and defences, we would move them to the front. We do all that kind of work to ensure that our men were safe. While all that's going on, our men are keeping watch with their rifles. They're still fighting. They're either throwing bombs at the enemy, they're using their rifle against the enemy if need be. And in the meantime, we're building. But it was useful because it meant that the men could carry on fighting while the defence was actually being built. Any questions?
No.
Great. You sure? Okay. So,
Yeah, keep coming forward, squeeze in. Yeah, there's still people coming down the corridor.
No, we're it.
I'll try and project to the back row. I'm the brigade major, and that means I am the operations officer for 55 Brigade. I work alongside my commanding officer, the Brigadier General, to interpret and flesh out the orders that come down from division. So it's my job, in part, to make sure that the troops in our particular section, the 4 battalions that make up 55 Brigade, are properly trained and equipped to do the jobs that are being asked for them of them operationally. And that can be anything from a minor raid up to a major attack. Now, up to this point, the British Army has not been particularly efficient at sharing what you might call best practice or passing on lessons learned from failed assaults in the past. That's starting to change. GHQ, Central Army Command, is starting to issue a series of pamphlets which outline some of those lessons learned, so we can start to work on that to improve our efficiency. For an example, only last year in 1915, the British Army was using 15 different types of grenade, some of which you had to light with a match, which isn't particularly effective in battle. Now we've superseded all of those with one type of grenade, the number 5 Mills bomb, which is a pull the pin, release the handle, and you've got 5 seconds to throw it. So now everybody's trained on one type of bomb. And obviously, having carried out those training operations, we've identified the men who are particularly good at that, often they're cricketers, and they get a special bombing badge, they become a specialist, they get extra pay, which is a big incentive.
It's not scary, Bob.
But in addition to offensive operations, I'm also got to keep an eye on supply. By this time in 1916, there are almost 2.5 million British soldiers in France. And if you were to equate that to a city, only London is bigger. So if you imagine all of the services and facilities that make up a city, from sanitation, medical, education, food, drink, all of that has to be replicated for the British Army in France, in the field, from Britain, because the French are too busy supplying their own troops to look after us as well. So that's a tremendous logistical challenge, and that is down to the red tabs, the staff officers, to organise and make that happen. There are something like 60 divisions in France. Each of those divisions takes 5 tons of supplies per day to keep in the field, so you can start to do some basic mathematics and realize you've got a heck of a job. So it's my job to make sure all of that is happening as well. That means I'm pretty busy because there are only 6 of us at brigade level, and hence why I've got a bed here, so I sleep and work here. Phone rings any point of the day or night, then I have to be available to respond to it. So I work 16 or 17 hours a day. So anybody who has an idea that wearing red tabs, becoming a staff officer, means you sit around polishing your boots and drinking champagne, is in for a bit of a rude awakening. Someone did ask, can we fight? Every staff officer started life as a regimental officer, so I served in India and in the Boer War, so I've done my bit in the front line. So yes, if needs be, staff officers are perfectly capable of fighting, but their specialist role is now elsewhere, making other things happen. At this point in the army, everybody is making the best of their talents in whatever way that goes, to try and bring us ultimately the victory. Anybody got any questions?
What's that thing on the shelf?
No, well, if you'd like to follow me this way then, we'll go past the galley kitchen. Are they going to ask questions?
That is a rattle. If there is a whiff of gas, poison gas in the air, and I smell that, then I use that to alert people that they should put their gas masks on. So they use it in the frontline trenches as well, but it can be used here too. It used to be a football rattle before the war.
Yeah,
Used to take
like
on the
Quidditch.
trenches.
It was in Quidditch, in the Harry Potter book.
I stand.
Bit. But you're not, you've got sore legs. You totally so.
I can help!
Thank you.
been in the trench system already, so you come back to do the tunnel system as well. Okay, if you want to move down along a bit further, let the youngsters come to the fore. So we could, because I'm very aware that even though I can talk very loudly, that the gentleman there won't hear. So if you can maybe squeeze up there and look over there. Just double up, come there. Oh, we have a dog as well. Just come to the fore, so maybe mum and dad can stand behind.
Right.
Come to the fore.
On then.
I'm not going to buy it. Right, are you able to hear there? If you want to come a little bit closer, leave a gap there. All right. Your baby's all right there.
Yeah, she's fine. She's asleep.
Right. Well, I'm not going to say
Away with the
welcome
fairies.
along to a regimental aid post, but certainly you have arrived at a regimental aid post. This is where basic first aid is going to be handed out. I'm not even sure what the adjective is, but to men who've been injured in the course of battle. That's kind of putting it basically. But if I was to mention the word the Somme, which I'm sure maybe you maybe use it in your common usage, or it looks like the Somme here, the Somme offensive was one of the major offensives of the Great War. The 1st of July 1916 was the worst day in British Army history, when 90,000 casualties were suffered by the British Army in the first 12 hours of that assault. So Regiment A post is going to be very close, very close to front line itself, within a matter of yards. So men are going to be brought here in huge numbers, and I'm going to be a little bit melodramatic now, so you might want to put your fingers in your ears. Men are going to be brought here with arterial blood pumping out them, with their abdomens sliced open by shrapnel, with head wounds, missing arms, missing legs. So this place will become a living hell on earth. My stretcher bearers, if they've survived the assault and the German actions that result from that, the shedding, they were men we brought in here in numbers which I certainly won't be, as a medical orderly, and my colleagues will not be able to deal with. We would have to undertake what has been now coming to modern vernacular, triaging, deciding on men who've lost so much blood already they're not going to survive. I'm not going to be able to do any basic first aid to enable them to survive. So that's it. You do perform my basic first aid work on those who maybe haven't got such severe injuries. Some of you here maybe are currently qualified first aiders, or have been in the past. What you I'm not sure if the gun was going off, but what you've done in your teaching for becoming a qualified third aider is more than I will know. Not that I don't want to do any work I've done that, but far more work than is knowledgeable into the British Army and the Royal Army Military Corps at that stage of the war. But certainly the war will bring on ways and means of actually helping men to survive the war. But in 1916, even blood transfusion was actually absolute infancy. So if you were having men come in here, I would not be performing any surgical techniques. I would not be performing any blood transfusion. That is for something away from the line, away where the men would be safer, where surgeons, who the last thing you want to do is lose an eminent qualified surgeon. So that work would take place away from the line, beyond the range of the enemy guns, where that work can be undertaken safely. The chances, though, of getting those men there were slim, because you've got to maybe do a carry of a stretcher with a severely injured man on that who's losing blood. All I've done is actually just administer morphine to try and assuage the pain. I've just maybe you're right, maybe done the dressing on him, bandaged him up. That's about it. That's all I'm going to do here, and hope that those stretcher bearers, if they're not maybe in their own right, going to suffer as a result, they die as a result of shelling. If they can get back there, maybe a couple of miles they've got to walk in horrendous conditions to get him back there. The chance he maybe die en route. If he gets there, he still may die at this stage of the war through gas gangrene. We didn't understand the fact that you've got to clean a wound properly, leave it open, not suture it up, and allow bacteria to fester, bacteria that have been obviously put into the wound as a result of a man maybe lying out in no man's land for 2 to 3 days, maybe in a flooded shell hole where that battlefield's been fought over the best part already, maybe 18 months, where there's bacteria in it from excrement. It's just a bare figure about. And I haven't even spoken about gas in its own right. The gas that was often inflicted on by the enemy, and thus in turn on them brought injuries which we've never seen before. So many men would die or be maimed permanently for the rest of their lives by gas. But many men will be maimed here permanently for the rest of their lives through the injuries sustained here. But at least we try to get them back out of the line to somewhere of safety where surgical teams could work on them in the hope, as it was the British Army, in the hope they could come back to fight another day. As it was, of course, many men didn't. They would be invalided at home and they would remain there not return to the line. But the intention was to try and get men back as quick as possible. So the very, very basic first aid down here. None of the medical technology advances that would have undertaken, like the use of X-rays, mobile X-ray units, have just started to come into use in the summer of 1916. That would be undertaken at a casualty clearance station or a field ambulance, where at least the surgeon had a better chance of knowing full well where a piece of shrapnel was lodged along the side of spine, or a bullet in the shoulder blade, without having to actually just cut into that, take an incision into that man's flesh and cause undue, unnecessary further trauma which he may die of. Anaesthetics were at the early stage. Blood transfusion, as I said, was early stage. It allowed some men to survive, but they didn't understand blood grouping. So men would still die if they did a direct man-to-man transfusion with the wrong blood group. They didn't understand that until the early 20s. But at least it gave them a further fighting chance. Men who were severely maimed facially, the first of facial reconstructions were undertaken by an eminent New Zealand doctor with the Royal Medical Corps called Harold Gillies. And he did the first facial reconstructions. You may have seen pictures, some horrendous pictures from the Great War, because he was insistent on taking pictures as he went along to undertaking umpteen operations to kind of reconfigure these men's faces with maybe lost noses, ears, the lower jaw, teeth, etc. So apologies if it become a bit morbid, but that was what life was like down here in a regimental A post. It was horrendous. It could be sheer hell on earth. And unlike obviously the men in the frontline trenches, who maybe at the time when there wasn't an offensive taking place, it would be a time of complete boredom. They would only be here in line before reserves would come up to replace them for the best part of the week. But as a regimental A post, the men of the RAMC, Royal Army Medical Corps, would be here for much longer. And during the offensive, they certainly wouldn't be relieved. Every man was required. So some offensive, they were here for the best part 3 to 4 months, non-stop, working on men trying to save their lives. Well, I would be covered in blood. My lower arms would be covered in blood. And I would be affected seriously. But a lot of the men actually worked with me, the stretcher bearers, a number of those men were conscientious objectors who didn't want to take up arms, and they were given the option of either being jailed in Britain or maybe become stretcher bearers, going out into the front line to bring back the badly wounded. And they went out to no man's land, cover of darkness, and did valiant work, and as a result earned themselves some of the highest medals conferred on men of the British Army as well. Of the 3 men who actually in the British Army won the Victoria Cross twice, 2 of them were the Royal Army Medical Corps for the work they did with the wounded and the dying in the frontline trenches of one of them was certainly in the Great War, Noel Shavas. So if you go away from here being affected by what I've spoken about, if you're affected when you go down the frontline trench, you turn a corner and see a soldier there standing there in uniform with the Enfield rifle, the hairs on the back of your neck suddenly stand up, and you feel affected by that. We've done our work. I know some of you may have done a research maybe into your own forebears and know a bit about, maybe you've even got a picture of your great-grandfather in his uniform, and maybe done research. You know what he did after the war. If he survived it, you maybe know where he's buried. You may even visited somebody's grave. But if you haven't done so, go away and maybe do some research. Use this as a stepping stone to doing that research there, because many men who survived, if they were wounded, invariably it was the Royal Medical Corps that saved them. But many men, for that one person who survived, many men died simply because we didn't have the technology available to us to do that. Thank God things have moved on since then. With obviously evacuation by helicopter from Afghanistan, etc., etc. But that's how it really was started in the Great War. Ways and means of meeting out and maiming and death to men were equal by the medical technology being revolutionised through the course of the war itself. So thank you for listening, folks. I hope I haven't been too morbid and you're upset by it at all, because it's one thing actually coming down here and seeing maybe saying, oh, like.
Harvey, this is the bit where we learn all about the bombs.
So it doesn't ruin the rice thing, but it still ruins the rice.
Hi again.
Again, who are you? Line it up. Who is it? Down.
Hello, you alright?
Yeah.
Come for another look?
Are you putting another bomb? It's a baby
Bun, sorry?
gun. You look.
Yeah, that's a big gun, that, isn't it? Yeah.
We found another one.
You found another rat, baby rat.
How do you trigger it?
So you pull this.
Cool, let's move. I put it away.
I was going to say, I think that would be the best.
Hello.
Hello. Oh my word, you're back again.
Yeah.
You've been running already, yeah. Did you see the tunnels then?
Yeah, we'll
You've
just
seen the
down there.
tunnels, brilliant, fantastic.
I found some little mice.
You did? Wow! Well, I'm going to add those to the list. We counted 29 earlier on, so that's 29, 30, 31, 32. Because I need to do the rat return, I need to send paperwork into head office, headquarters to let them know how many rats we found.
Oh no.
Is that your own? Is that a rat or a cow?
Otter.
It's an otter, sorry. It's an otter.
What are you doing with the rats?
So that's a phone.
That is a phone indeed, and it's looked like this. It's a real phone. And from that I can communicate with the headquarters dugout in the back line, or the battalion brigade headquarters further back.
That's a charging phone.
Is
Right.
it? It's very, and it works as a camera by the looks of it as well. It's very well. Our camera that we have at the back up here is more of a kind of watch the birdie thing.
Yep.
With the flash and the
Long one for all these.
Yeah, I know.
Byron's come and have a look. Private Tippett's in here at the moment, fiddling,
Loitering.
loitering.
Making sure the telephones are working.
He's working signals as well, so he's making sure that the telephones are all working. Because the problem is that these cables are so thin, they're often broken in shell fire, or even someone who might be walking down the trench and knock it with a bag can easily break these. Yeah, constantly looking to try and find the faults in the cables to keep the communications going, because you need to communicate. And if that's not working, and we can rely on runners, we message pads and messages go out in duplicate back, because of course you can't rely on one runner. If someone was to anything to happen, then we need the message to get through. Again, carrier pigeons also used too. Hello.
Sorry.
That's all right. No worries.
Tunnel. See?
There you go. That's the video so far. I'll be putting another one very shortly. And hope you liked it. Please subscribe and hit the like, and don't forget to hit the notification and press all. And I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.